I'm Jason, the world is yours, and today we have a story about J.R. Smith explain why black NBA players don't show love to Howard Stern. How about that? Howard Stern comments about black NBA New York Knicks players giving him the cold shoulder while sitting courtside at MSG has garnered many responses from a number of athletes and pundits. Former New York Knicks player J.R. Smith recently weighed in on the topic of Howard Stern's treatment by black NBA New York Knicks players, arguing that many may not be aware of his accolades or statue, given their generational gap, right? This is very true. I mean, this is what everyone's saying. This is what J.R. Smith says. I'm sorry, but what basketball players listen to him? I don't think I've ever met one, black or not. Right? Like, it's not even black people. It's black or white. It's just they're too young. The former New York Knicks player tweeted on Saturday in response to a similar sentiment made by journalist Taylor Rooks. Okay, hold on. Howard Stern is one of the most talented interviewers of all time, Rooks wrote. With that being said, this is a ridiculous stance. Many of them simply have no idea who he is, and people not knowing you isn't an insult. I totally agree. Stern touched on the lack of interaction he has had with black NBA New York Knicks players during a recent interview appearance alongside Robin Quivers, juxtaposing his experience with that of a black celebrity like Spike Lee. Okay, this is what Stern said. They put me courtside, and the black players won't come over and say hello to me, Stern told Quivers, but they go over to Spike Lee. When asked if the athletes acknowledge him at all, Stern remained adamant in his claim of the unceremonious reception he's received. I'll be sitting next to Tracy Morgan or Chris Rock, Stern continued. You know, they sit you where they sit you, and a lot of the times I'm next to Tracy Morgan, who is so funny, and he's sitting there, and like a couple of players will come over, they give him that bro shake and stuff, and I'm like, these guys should hug me too. I mean, what am I? I grew up in a black neighborhood. You know what I mean? I mean, they should know. He said, I mean, they should know that, but I feel ignored. This is a funny story, right? I mean, I know Howard Stern has had his back and forth. Some people said he's done some racist things, yada yada yada. But this story is just funny. When Howard Stern first came up with this story a few days ago, we did mention on this channel that Jessica Alba was at a New York Knicks game, and a few players didn't know who she was. I think there was a New York Jet player didn't even know who Jessica Alba was. So my whole thing is that Howard Stern, God bless him, did a great job for, before podcasting and all, everyone listens to podcasting. He did the radio, set the bar for radio personalities and things like that. But for the most part, kids of this generation, they were not born in the 90s. They weren't even born in the, for the most part, if you're on the NBA Knicks, you're probably under 30 years old, right? For the most part, So when Howard Stern was popping in 1992, when he was calling himself the king of all media in 1992, this is before the internet for the most part, right? Like, people weren't on the internet in 1992. Maybe they were. I know there's some people say, oh, I was definitely on the internet. But most of these kids were not alive in 1992. If you're playing for the Knicks, if you play for the Jets, the reason why they show love to people like Tracy Morgan or Spike Lee specifically, is because Spike Lee is known as the biggest Knicks fan in the world. It's not because he's black. Like, NBA Knicks players are not walking over to Spike Lee because he's black. They go and support him because he's always at the game. He attends road games. He's the biggest Knicks fan. So that's why Knicks players show Spike Lee love more than they show Howard Stern love. I'm pretty sure with this story gaining some traction, and the next time Howard Stern is at an NBA Knicks game, or the Knicks season may be over actually soon. Maybe he go to game, what was the game? 5. He's gonna have to probably try to go to game 5 because that may be the last game of the season for the Knicks. But I'm pretty sure the next game Howard Stern goes to, someone from the Knicks organization, someone black, will go over and acknowledge and say hello to Howard Stern and thank him for appreciating the story. I don't know if I don't consider this a racist story at all. Black people and Jewish people, for the most part, get along. They share a lot of things in common, I would say, for the most part. So black people and Jewish people get along. I don't think this is a racist story. I don't think Howard Stern was trying to be racist. Even when he says the bro handshake, he's saying that he wants love from black people compared to saying he doesn't want. You know what I'm saying? We've heard some people in the NBA say, don't bring black people near me, right? Howard Stern is saying the opposite. He's wondering why black people don't come and give him a hug, which is just, it's a funny story. It's not as, it's not toxic. It's not cancelable. I don't think no one's mad that Howard Stern, said what he said. It's not, I don't think there's a loser in this. And I'm glad that J.R. Smith didn't come out and say, something. J.R. Smith is a good dude. So he didn't come out and say something crazy and, start beefing with Howard Stern. So I'm glad. Like I said, I expect that at the next time Howard Stern attends a New York Knicks game, I'm pretty sure he's going to get a lot of black love, to say the least, right? But, shout out to Howard Stern. Much respect to Howard Stern. Keep doing your thing. But let me know your opinion of this story. Do you agree with J.R. Smith that, the reason why black people don't show much love to Howard Stern in the New York Knicks Madison Square Garden is not because he's white, but it's more because they just don't know who the king of the media was in 1992. I'm Jason. The world is yours. Today we had a story about J.R. Smith, former New York Knicks player, explained why black NBA New York Knicks players don't show love to Howard Stern. Question asked, question answered. Good job, J.R. Smith. And shout out to J.R. Smith, of course, right? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button. And please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.